guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be making a rear bar for the GU. I've already taken everything off that I need to, done some cutting as I want the bar to sit closer to the body. I've done the quarter chop and I've got some 3mm steel here. Basically what I'll be doing is taking some measurements around the lights, under the doors, and I just want to be keeping a good angle here for clearance. I'll take all those measurements, put them down onto this sheet, cut this, as this will be one piece at the back, and then I'll be able to work my way around the sides with all the other little pieces and tack it up as I go. First measurement I'm going to get is just from the outside of the tail light to the outside of the tail light, and then that'll give me my overall width to draw out on this sheet. This sheet's 290mm tall, which is what it's going to be pretty much from the bottom of the cross member there up to underneath the tail light, so I won't have to cut the top of the bottom, which is handy. This is already a pre-cut piece, so it's just the width I need to cut and then the angle. So the angle I'm planning on sort of doing is it'll come level at the bottom here, and then when it gets to pretty much where the tyre is, which is also in line with the barn doors, it'll come up directly up to this sort of cut line I've done, which gives me about 50mm of a flat piece on the side. Obviously shape around the tail light, and then once all that's tacked together, then I'll do little pieces that sort of go from that cut inside and underneath just to brace it all up. I've just drawn my cut line there, so the overall measurement was 1780mm. Now I'll just get a reference point from inside the tail light to inside the tail light, and that'll give me obviously the mark for up here as well as where I want to start that angle. And then I should be able to pretty much mark out this whole piece with those couple of measurements, cut that one out, tack it up and start doing the sides. So this is the piece cut for the back. I didn't get to film any of the cutting just because I'm here alone at the moment and wanted to get it done before it got too dark. But now I'm just going to try rig something up to hold it in place, make sure I'm happy with how it looks, and then I'll tack it on to the chassis just until I start making up the side pieces. But yeah, I'll get it held up into position and then I'll show you what it looks like so far. I didn't end up doing anything else last night, but today I've fabbed up these brackets here, which are just 2 bits of 10mm steel. They're going to sit on the chassis like that, obviously flush with the end, and then I'll drill these 2 holes in them, and then this will weld to the back of that, and then I'll be able to start working off that. I've got the other bracket over here already marked out, just got to drill there and there just with the stepping tree bits, and then should be good to go. Got this one drilled out and bolted in. I'm just going to repeat that on the other side, and then I'll tack this up. And then I'm actually I've already ordered a rated recovery point from Superior Engineering for the back here, bolt straight to it. But because there's going to be a 30mm gap between the back of that plate and this cross member, I don't want that to just be open. So what I'll do is I'll cut this 10mm plate into 3 little sections that'll sit here just to block that out, so it's solid between this and the back of the plate. And then that rated recovery point that I got from Superior will bolt all the way from that through those plates and into that, and it should be super strong. I just got finished tacking this back piece on. Obviously it looks a bit funny at the moment, but got it dead center. Chucked a couple of tacks on that bracket. I just made sure it lined up with the tail lights. That's how it looks there. And so now I'll double check it is dead center, and if I'm happy with it all, I'll weld off those plates fully, and then I'll start making up these little sections here, so like the return in there, obviously the return that'll go from the top underneath it all, and then I can start working my way out off the sides. The back piece is fully welded now, and I've also put a block of like 30mm of steel in here just to keep it tight between the chassis and the bar itself. Finished welding them up fully, bolted in, and this measurement here is about 80mm, but I want it to sort of look like it goes from more up to the thinner section up there. So I'm going to go roughly 150mm here up to there. I'll tack that on, same on the other side, and then I'll figure out what sort of angles and measurements I want to do for the rest of the panels underneath there. And then once that's done, it'll just be filling in all the gaps up the top in here, and I might even add a piece underneath to strengthen it, but we'll see how I go. It's getting pretty dark, but I've made some progress on the side wings. I've put this angled piece in here, a little top infill in here, and then another top infill in here. It's a bit tight here against the body, but I can change that once I have this all welded in from there to there and it's all solid. I'll know the final position of everything and I can trim what I need to up there, but for now that's just stopping that from flapping around. But pretty happy with how it's looking. Hopefully get some good weather tomorrow, and I'll finish off those bottom corners there. Still have the top piece there and underneath, and then it's pretty much done. It's the following day. I'm about to start cutting this top section in. As you can see, the body has a bit of a curve here, and I was going to just make it all this sort of measurement, but there'd be a bigger gap over here. So I'm going 90mm here. I'll cut the whole strip at 90mm, and then I'll just scribe it to this edge so it follows the body line, and then I'll take the bar off and weld it to that, because that'll give it a lot of strength and keep it dead straight before I start doing the rest of these infills and stuff. So I just want to give it a bit of strength in the center, and then I'll work on the sides. I've just marked it out here, which is that 90mm strip there. Got a bit of surface rust on this, but that's all right, it'll sand back pretty easy. I've got this top section cut, and I've just sat it parallel with the bar. It's overhanging about 20mm. So I've just taken this measurement here, which is 35mm, and I've put my pencil on the 35mm mark and just ran my ruler along this edge the whole way around, and that way it gives me a perfect scribe to the body line and will give me about 10-15mm of clearance, because this is overhanging 20mm and that's about a 35mm gap. So yeah, should be about 15mm gap the whole way around, and then I'll cut that, weld it up. And I've also, just to make my life easier, these things are great, just got these little 90-degree bends that are magnetic, hold it in place. Got another one on the other side, but yeah, just super handy, hold everything square. They've obviously got 90, 45, so pretty helpful little tools. The top section is fully scribed and cut, sanded back, ready to weld. Then I've taken the bar off, and I've got my little magnets there to hold it. So I'll get this all square and straight along that edge and weld it up, and then I'll put the bar back on. Finished welding that top section on both sides and gave it a little grind back. There's a few spots with some pitting and stuff that I'll chase up later, but for now I'll just keep going with the infills. I'll cut these bits now, just those little square plates there and there, and then I'll cut this angle here, and then I'll figure out what the measurements are for the sides. So I've made a bit of progress on these side infills. Basically, it's just measuring, cutting, figuring out the maths to it sort of thing. So basically just took the measurement of that top section, the measurement from that corner to that corner, and then found out the long length, cut that, welded it in, and then made up the next triangle. And then now I've got from there down to there to there will be my final triangle on this side. The more bends and stuff like that, the more strength it's going to have, and it sort of keeps some nice looking angles when you come back. So I'll cut that last triangle in, and then it should hold itself in place and be nice and strong, and then I'll move on to the other side. Not sure how well the camera will pick it up, it's pretty dark now, but I've got this whole side plated. So obviously got that side section, triangle there, and then that final triangle there. I've only got it tacked in position. That's what it looks like from the side. And then from the back and underneath, my plan will be that I'll be pissing this exhaust off and probably doing a 4-inch hole here and doing a custom exhaust tip out the bottom there or out of this side, but most likely that one, which should be pretty cool. But that'll do me for tonight. I'll pick the camera back up tomorrow, pretty much copy and paste what I've done on this side to the other side, and then maybe a bit of bracing here and there where it needs it, but that's pretty much everything.
Why is it so hard to weld neatly? Why's mine fucked?
It's actually a couple of days later. The weather here has been pretty crazy, really wet, so I haven't been able to work on the car too much. As you can see, everything's got a bit of surface rust, which is fine. With this back section, I'm actually going to change it. I don't really like that goes up there and then back down. I sort of want that corner in there to be the lowest point, just because from the back I think it sort of looks a bit funny that side section just disappears into the body, and from the very side like this, I don't like that it's higher there than it is here. So I'm probably going to cut this weld here, there and there. That's just tacked up there, which will be easy, but this one I did weld a fair bit. And then I'll just pretty much pull this section down so it sits a bit lower, and hopefully it looks a bit nicer then. So yeah, I'll change that up. I'm hoping I can reuse at least one of these pieces, not have to cut it all again, but we'll see how we go, and then I'll obviously copy it on the other side if I'm happy with it. I've taken the bar off, and you can sort of see on this angle here what I'm talking about, that it goes up and then down. I sort of want it to come out like that and then up to that point. I think it just suits the body shape a bit better. This would give me a bit more clearance in terms of like dropping off rocks and stuff, but I'm only going to lose about 30 mil if I do it the way I want to do it, so I'm happy to do that. And if I don't like it, I'll change it back, but we'll see what it looks like first. So I finished cutting those pieces off, grinding them back, and I've just retacked this first piece in. So now that bottom corner over there sits a bit lower, dropped it about 50 millimeters. So now from the side here, you can see that point there is lower than the point over there, which means from the direct side angle like I'm on right now, that'll still go up, which is the look I want, following these lines here. And now from directly behind, when I do join that to there, it'll all look a bit nicer and sort of come down and stagger its way into the corner rather than going up then down like it was. So I think this will look a lot nicer. I've just got to get that piece on the ground, reshape it slightly, then weld it up and do the exact same on the other side. Second piece has been tacked on. It actually ended up working perfect. I didn't have to reshape either piece at all. Because of how I originally had it, it was going in. Now I've just inverted it essentially coming out, and the measurements have stayed the same. The angle's just changed from going inside to outside, if that makes sense. So that's how it looks. Don't look too close at my welds, but yeah, I think this looks a lot nicer. That way it sort of flows around rather than cutting in. So I'll recut all these angles here and then just copy it on the other side. Alright, just finished cutting these other 3 pieces for this side, and I've got the welder ready. One little tip I've got is I've been using a ruler to sort of space this down, so shove it between here and here, because at the moment this is pretty loose because it's got no bracing to it. So as I weld these pieces on, I want this to hold in roughly the position, if not further or lower, so that if it does have any spring back, it's not going to have too tight of a gap here, if that makes sense. So you just want to hold it roughly in place when you're welding everything so it doesn't move. I've got both sides tacked up now. I've just started grinding back some of the welds because I have to re-weld the whole thing pretty much, or all of the stuff I've done today, because the wire I've got in the welder at the moment is for gas and I'm not using gas, so it's just a bit ugly. But I've just put it on and tacked it up just so it can hold at least for now. So yeah, I'll finish grinding it all back and then I will put it back on, show you how it looks, and then there's probably going to be a few spots off the corners here that I'm going to put little outrigger pieces that'll mount to the chassis as well, just so that the wings are braced, and then that'll pretty much wrap it up. I just put the bar back on. This is how it looks. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. All the angles and stuff look really nice. A lot of clearance. And you can see there in the middle, I've drilled 4 holes because I've ordered a Superior Engineering rated recovery point to bolt in there. But that'll be a couple of weeks away. But yeah, I'm just about to head into town to grab some new MIG wire, and then I will finish welding the whole bar up, sand it back, and then I'll be taking it to the powder coaters to get sandblasted and powder coated. I've pretty much finished everything. I've just given all the welds a sand back and chucked 1 coat of paint on. This is only temporary because I'll eventually get it sandblasted, but just for tonight I wanted to see how it looked. I've still got to add the extra support brackets too, but looks pretty good with a lick of paint on it. This is what it looks like on and painted. Pretty happy with it. Looks a lot nicer now it's all black. So I've just made up these little brackets here that go across to the body mount. I've just tacked it on there. I'm about to pull off the bar to fully weld it, but basically that's just to brace this wing here, because it used to go up and down and in and out, and now it's nice and solid. So I'll pull the bar off, weld that fully off, and then I've got pieces to make that'll just sort of cover this in a little bit. So I might go from there down to that point there, and that way it's just plated, which will also gain a bit of strength so that can't fold upwards and whatnot. And then I'll do the same on the other side, and then that basically finishes up the bar, and then I'll take it in to get sandblasted and powder coated, and that'll be it. Alrighty guys, it's actually been quite a while since the last clip. The bar is now powder coated, it's fully done. As you can see, the rear recovery point's been welded up. It's also bolted into the chassis, so it's super strong. I ended up just going like a satin black powder coat, and I decided not to put any infills in here. It's obviously a lot weaker without them, but it just makes it super easy to get in behind there and clean it all. And if it gets hit or whatever and it starts to damage it or whatever, I'll maybe make some changes, but for now I just wanted to keep it light and simple. So I didn't end up doing any of that bracing, but I reckon it looks unreal. I'm super happy with it. Gives it a really good departure angle. Looks pretty clean and factory. And it's still pretty light compared to most rear bars that are steel. So yeah, that's the bar fully done. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.